Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents a media agency, please contact a committee member for assistance. The members of the North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcome you to our 15th annual We Grow With Love convention. We would like to thank you for joining us in this celebration of recovery. We're grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find real joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our love with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together and for each other, knowing that we need each other because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface to the basic text begins, the full fruit of a labor of love lives in the harvest, and that always comes in its right season. For us, our season has come. I have a moment of silence followed by the Serenity Prayer. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just for today. Would somebody like to come up and read Who is an Addict?
Hi, my name is Sam, grateful recovering addict.
Hey, Sam.
Who is an addict? Most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same. Jails, institutions, and death.
Thank you. Would somebody like to come up and read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program?
I'll take it next.
Addict named Rich.
Hey, Rich.
What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There is only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We have no affiliation with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting, because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Oh, would somebody like to come up and read Why Are We Here? Gary, Mark, pleasure.
My name's Gary.
Hey, Gary.
This is Why Are We Here? Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Would somebody like to read how it works?
Hi, my name is Bruce. I'm an addict.
Hey, Bruce.
If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact natures of our wrongs. 6. We were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. We humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This sounds like a big order, and we can't do it all at once. We didn't become addicts in one day, so remember, easy does it. There is only one thing more than anything else that will defeat us in our recovery. This is an attitude of indifference or intolerance towards spiritual principles. Three of these that are indispensable are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. With these, we are all well on our way. We feel that our approach to this disease of addiction is completely realistic for the therapeutic value of one addict helping another without parallel. We feel that our way is practical, for one addict can best understand and help another addict. We believe that the sooner we face our problems within our society in everyday living, just that much faster do we become acceptable, responsible, and productive members of society. The only way to keep from returning to active addiction is not to take that first drug. If you're like us, you know that 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. We put great emphasis on this, for we know that when we use drugs in any form or substitute one for another, we release our addiction all over again. Thinking of alcohol as different from other drugs has caused a great many addicts to relapse. Before we came to NA, many of us viewed alcohol separately, but we cannot afford to be confused about this. Alcohol is a drug. We are people with the disease of addiction who must abstain from all drugs in order to recover. Yep.
Would somebody like to come up and read the 12 traditions?
Good morning, my name is Earth and I'm an addict. The 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. Sorry about that. 3. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose: to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6. An NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Understanding these traditions comes slowly over a period of time. We pick up information as we talk to members and visit various groups. It usually isn't until we get involved with service that someone points out that personal recovery depends on NA unity, and that unity depends on how well we follow our traditions. The 12 traditions of NA are not negotiable. They are the guidelines that keep our fellowship alive and free. By following these guidelines in our dealings with others and society at large, we avoid many problems. That is not to say that our traditions eliminate all problems. We still have to face difficulties as they arise. Communication problems, differences of opinion, internal controversies, and troubles with individuals and groups outside the fellowship. However, when we apply these principles, we avoid some of the pitfalls. Many of our problems are like those that our predecessors had to face. Their hard-won experience gave birth to the traditions, and our own experience has shown that these principles are just as valid today as they were when these traditions were formulated. Our traditions protect us from our internal and external forces that could destroy us. They are truly the ties that bind us together. It is only through understanding and application that they work.
All right, this is the workshop home group, the importance of having one. We've only got one speaker, so we're gonna let her speak for a while, then we'll open it up. And I'll probably end up being the other speaker for all the workshops that we don't have speakers for. You're gonna see me probably. Maybe some people will volunteer then when they get sick of listening to me. 'Cause I really don't have anything to share. I'm gonna give you Nancy from Rockford. Nancy from Rockford. Welcome, thank you.
I'm an addict named Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to share and do a little kind of like disclaimer, but this is just my experience, strength, and hope with my home group. So don't judge Narcotics Anonymous as a whole on anything that I share up here. The one thing that I've been taught that when I share like this, that I need to go to our literature and I need to get some help from our literature, because I need to keep that message that was talked about in the traditions earlier. And so I looked it up a few things, and I just got a couple things that I'd like to share first. And just for today, December 24th, it says the group. The 12th step of our personal program also says that we carry the message to the addict who still suffers. The group is the most powerful vehicle we have for carrying the message. Basic text, page 65. When we first came to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, we meet recovering addicts. We know they are addicts because they talk about the same experiences and feelings we had. We know they are recovering because of their serenity. They've got something we want. We feel hope when other addicts share their recovery with us in NA meetings. The atmosphere of recovery attracts us to the meetings. That atmosphere is created when group members make a commitment to work together. We try to enhance the atmosphere of recovery by helping set up for meetings, greeting newcomers, and talking with other addicts after the meeting. These demonstrations of our commitment make our meetings attractive and help our groups share their recovery. Sharing experience in meetings is one way in which we help one another, and is often the foundation of our sense of belonging. We identify with other addicts, so we trust the message of hope. Many of us would not have stayed in Narcotics Anonymous without the sense of belonging and hope. When we share at group meetings, we support our personal recovery while helping others. Just for today, I will reach out to another addict in my group and share my recovery. When I read this, there's a couple things that stuck out to me. When I first went to Narcotics Anonymous, the only thing that I could do was I looked at the differences. I was very unhappy, I was very rageful, and when I walked in to my home group, people were having a good time. They were laughing, they were sharing, and it was before the meeting, so it was appropriate. You know, and at that time we had 2 rooms, and I would see addicts go into this room and then come out. And I didn't know what they were doing, and what I thought they were doing was, well, the reason they're so happy is they're going in the other room and they're using and they're not sharing. You know, because I didn't have any understanding. For 31 years I used. I didn't have any understanding of that you can be in a room with a bunch of people and have this serenity that the Just for Today talked about, and have this, you know, have these friends and have this thing in common. And I thought, well, I wouldn't have shared with them either, so that's okay. It makes us even. And the only thing that I remember, that's the one thing, I remember 2 things from my first meeting. I remember that, and I remember keep coming back. That's all I can remember of that first meeting. I walked out of that meeting and thinking, I don't belong here, you know. But I was in treatment, and the requirement was to go to 2 meetings on the weekend, and if you didn't, you got to do 4. And again, the addict says if 2 is bad enough, 4 is going to be really bad, so just do the 2 and meet the requirement. And because I really went to treatment because I thought treatment was going to teach me how to do it right. And it at that time was drugs. And that was the only reason, you know, I thought, you know, I didn't think I had this huge problem that I realized today that I had and still do. And I fell into this group, and I kept going back. After I got out of treatment, I can honestly tell you that for my first 5 years of recovery, I went to a meeting, at least 1 meeting a day, if not 2. And I had to drive 35 miles to get to my meeting because there were no meetings where I lived. And I share this with newcomers, and I share this with my sponsees because what I'm seeing, I have sponsees that are going to 1 meeting a week and they think everything's, you know, okay, and then they call me at the end of the week and wonder why their life's falling apart. And what I have to share is I worked an 8 or a 10-hour day job, and I used during my job, and I used pretty much the rest of the day until I passed out. When I took out the using, that left an awful lot of hours in the day to do absolutely nothing. And I got here and realized after treatment was just kind of discovery for me. I'm not trying to endorse it. It was just discovery. Where my recovery really started was in Narcotics Anonymous. And what am I going to do with all this time on my hands? I spent a lot of time in my home group. You know, I went to a lot of meetings. We went to coffee out afterwards. Didn't want people to get to know me. My first year, the best I could say, and at the time my first year, because I still wasn't real sure what I was yet, was the best I could do for a year was, my name's Nancy and I'm an alcoholic addict, and I'll pass with that. And the great thing about when you go to a home group and people start to get to know you, instead of going to this group, this group, this group, this group, this group, they get to know you. And some of the members started to get to know me, because what I would do is I would sit there and I would count something for a lot of times just to keep my mind occupied, because I wasn't able to focus on any, I got this counting thing. And I would watch the clock and it'd be like, okay, there's 15 minutes left, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not gonna get to me, so I don't even have to, you know, I ain't gonna have to say anything today. Well, these wonderful people at my home group caught on to this, and what they started doing was they would say they were an addict and their name, and they'd pass with that. It's like, you know, and they said, you know, Nancy, you ain't gonna get any better until you open up your mouth. And now I think those people would be like, you know what, Nancy, you need to shut your mouth. So I love to talk about recovery, and you know, I've been told a few things in my recovery. If you don't have, you know, the best home group in the world, you better go find one. And if you don't have the best sponsor in the world, you better go find one. And for me, that means that that home group needs to be the best group for me. That sponsor needs to be the best sponsor for me. That doesn't negate any other meetings. That doesn't negate anybody else's ability to sponsor anybody, but that's for me. And I've gotten involved. I got a little over 12 years clean, and Freedom to Grow in Rockford, Illinois is my home group, and that's where I do probably 95% of my meetings. We're just down the road from a treatment facility, and we get a lot of newcomers, and I remember many times sitting in the meeting and thinking, oh man, it's going to be another First Step meeting tonight. You know, and I got something I need to share, and I, you know, got to, you know, give this wonderful message about how great recovery is, and I can't tell them the negative stuff. And actually there's a person out here in the audience that I called after that meeting and was talking to this person, and he said, what are you trying to do? Paint a wonderful picture that life is great once you get clean? You know, you can share your experience, strength, and hope, but you need to be honest, and you need to tell people where you're at. You know, and that same person was a person that came up from someplace else and tried to tell us that we were doing it wrong. And that pissed me off, because that was my home group. It wasn't his. You don't like it here, get the hell out. You know? And that was after a meeting. I didn't say that during a meeting, but it's like, you know, and this person has taught me a lot of things that I needed to learn, and I've also been taught that it's really okay to have compassion and passion for my home group. And I have to be real careful with that, because what that can do for me is I can disguise character defects under that and try to make things go my way and try to get you to understand this is the way we do it here and you're doing it wrong, you know. And so I have to keep myself in check, and just recently I've had to ask to have some help with that from other addicts, because there are times when I don't see that I'm doing that, because I believe I'm doing it out of that passion and compassion for Narcotics Anonymous in my home group. And the longer that I kept coming around, the more I know, and was grateful for the fact that I actually had some place to go, that they let me come in and be whatever I needed to be for that day. And when I first got here, and again, this is my experience and these are my thoughts, basically what I when I got here, I had isolated myself so much that this was my idea of a meeting. You motherfuckers stay on that side of the room and I'll stay on this side of the room and we'll get along fine. You know, because nobody told me that after the meeting we did this, you know, touchy, huggy, feely shit, you know. And I wasn't, because, you know, where I came from, I had blocked a lot. I mean, I went years with not having any physical contact with people, and it was a shock. And that's one of the things that I remember when I see a newcomer come in, because I try to not make a judgment, but try to be open to the fact that, you know, some of us come from a spot where a hug is not, it's not what a hug is for me today. You know, when I got here, a hug meant something a lot more than welcome home and we're glad you're alive. And I've heard people in my home group at a newcomer meeting say, you know, here's the packet, here's your key tag, welcome here, but it's going to cost you a hug. And after the meeting, I go up to them and it's like, it doesn't cost us anything to be here, you know, because I could not have given that hug. If that would have been told to me at my first meeting, I don't know if I would have come back. I really seriously do not know if I would have come back. You know, and I know that this person wasn't doing it, you know, out of being malicious or whatever. But sometimes we need to really be, those newcomers, we need to be gentle with those newcomers, because you know what? For quite a while, nobody knew where I came from, because I didn't want people. If you knew what I had done and where I'd been, you wouldn't keep telling me to come back. You know, and I'm grateful, because I know that there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on. And the one thing that, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. When I got here, God placed some really strong males in my life. And my belief at the time was all men were assholes. And please, again, this is my experience. Thank God for the steps and the people of this program and God, I don't believe that anymore. And I had like 5 or 6 people, men, that cared enough about recovery and cared enough about me as a newcomer that helped me get over that. Helped to show me that not all men are assholes. Just the ones I'd met up to the point I'd quit using. You know, I had, you know, when I came from a very dysfunctional, I think a lot of us do, but there was a lot of incest, there was a lot of physical abuse, and that's why that hugging thing, you know, man, out the door smoking. As soon as that serenity prayer was done, I was out the door, you know, and smoking. And you know, if you smoke, people, if you're smoking, they're not going to get too close to you. They're just not, you know. But so I use cigarettes to keep people away, and it's like, it's okay. And my home group allowed that. You know, they let me become what I needed to become at the time I needed to become it. And they were there for me. Like I said, you know, when I first got here, I addressed myself as, my name's Nancy, I'm an alcoholic addict. And thank God for sponsorship, because my sponsor said, well, what you're really saying is, you know, your name's Nancy and you're an addict. She said, why don't you try to, you know, talking about that unity. You know, we're all the same here. So then it kind of went to, my name's Nancy and I'm an addict. And as I went through the steps and discovered more and more about myself, and now today I address myself, I'm an addict named Nancy, because before I am a daughter, before I'm a sibling, before I'm a wife, before I'm a friend, I'm an addict. You know, to this day, you know, I still struggle with when something happens. My first instinct, that first knee-jerk reaction is that addictive, gonna get you, and I have to pull back from that and I have to ask God for some help, because I don't want to be that person that's got that NA shirt on that says, you know what, fuck you, you know. And, but my home group has been there, and just recently my home group has gone through some real turmoil, and it's hard. It was really hard, really emotional. You know, when you feel like you're being held hostage, if you don't do what one or two people say as far as how things are run, well, we're going to take our financial support and we're going to take our Monday night meeting and we're going to leave. You know, and it's like, wait a second, one or two people can't shut down a meeting. That has to be voted on. You know, there's spiritual principles we need to follow, there's policies that we need to follow, and you know, it was very difficult to have to go to the business meeting and try to stay passionate and compassionate for my group and not judgmental, and have to try to explain what somebody had come up and had threatened me with. Well, your group is going to close if these people leave. And it's like, you know, if that happens, it happens. And I think all groups go through turmoil and stuff. And the thing that I know from my personal recovery is whenever I've been willing to step out on faith and go through that, what I conceive as pit of hell, and go through that pain, there's usually growth on the other side. And still working on some resentments. It's probably one of the biggest resentments I've had since I've been in recovery, and it's difficult. And I realize that even in a group setting, you know, I'm really trying to understand this group conscience issue, because that's what it was really all about, is how we voted as a group. And if you said no, then we were going to keep you here until we could change our mind. And it's like, well, it says somewhere in our literature that we can come and go as we please. And no one, you know, I can't hold anybody hostage. But things are kind of changing a little bit, and I think in my home group I'm starting to get known as the strict one or something, because I try very hard. I don't succeed, you know. I succeed at home better than I do at my home group, being strict. But you know, somebody came in from a relapse, and somebody shared with them that it was okay that they relapsed. And I just kind of cringed inside, because what my disease said was, this is okay. And it scared me, because it's like, God, I got 12 years clean, and now my disease is telling me it's okay to go back out there. It's like, whoa. And my stomach turned into a knot, and when I shared, it's like, this isn't okay. I'm very grateful that you're back and that you're alive. That's the part that's okay. But I can't let people, you know, I can't walk out of here with the message that it's okay to relapse, because I'm afraid I'm going to go do it. Despite the reaction, that gut reaction that I had, you know, and it's that being able to stand up for what you believe in, and all of a sudden there was like this chaos, and then it's like, okay, wait a second, this is still, the meeting's still going on, you know, we can talk about this after the meeting. Keeping that atmosphere of recovery sometimes is difficult. When I went to a meeting Thursday, and somebody had walked in, and didn't look very good. And in our group, we don't have anything that stipulates that if you've used in the last 24 hours not to speak. We don't have that. I know some groups in our area do. And I could tell that this person was not okay, and I had 3 people come up to me and say, shouldn't this person leave? You know, and I'm the chairperson, and I'm like, no. You know, this person was not openly using, you know. Now, if that was going on, then I would have had to have stepped in and said something or done something, but this person was in a meeting. And this person left, and I have a newer sponsee, and she's like, I'm gonna go get her. I'm like, because I didn't know what this person had. This person, I said, no. I said, the thing that we were given here is a choice. And I said, this person has a choice, and if this person needs to leave or wants to leave, you know, you please sit here. And the person came back, thank God, and a lot of chaos going on in this person's life, but I was surprised that people didn't think that that person could be there. It's like, we're addicts, you know? I use things that are not narcotic, and I still have to come to the table and talk about it, so is that going to mean that I can't come when I'm doing stuff that I'm not supposed to be doing that can lead me back to using? You know, so it's kind of like, and the thing that my home group is struggling with is there's not a lot of predecessors that are there. And babies can't change babies' diapers. It gets real messy, it gets real icky quick. And when I got here, there was every night the predecessors were there, you know, and people have asked me, how come you're still, you know, how many meetings a week do you go to? And I go to 3 or 4 meetings a week. I don't work. I have the luxury of going to as many meetings as I need to or want to. But why do you do so many? Because you know what? One, I can, and two, for the most part, I need to. You know, it talks about, what can I do? On page 54, it says, gradually we replace old habits with new ways of living. We become willing to change. We go to meetings regularly, get and use telephone numbers, read literature, and most importantly, we don't use. We learn to share with others. If we don't tell someone we are hurting, they will seldom see it. When we reach out for help, we can receive it. And that's, I think, what I believe is the most important thing about a home group, is because when I came in there and I was hurting, you know, they'd say, hey Nancy, how you doing? I'd say fine. And then I'd get that little anagram or whatever that is, that fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Yeah, you are. You're fine, all right. So then it was like, okay, well, that ain't working. I'm gonna have to find something else that I can say that they can't come up with something back, you know. And what I realized is that the only reason that they were asking me that and telling me that was because they were being my eyes and my ears that day when I couldn't be. You know, and again, I believe that's the importance of having a home group and being involved in a home group. When I had 90 days clean, the only requirement to chair meetings at my home group is 90 days clean, a chairperson's workshop, and the desire to serve. My sponsor said to me at 90, she says, you're coming up on your 90 days, get that workshop, and I want your name in that book every month for a year. And I'm like, okay. And this is something that I've tried to talk to with other addicts. I have tried to do that with some sponsees that I have, and I can't get them to do it. A year? I'm like, well, how long did you use? You know, it's 1 hour out of a week, you know, and I'm struggling with how do we keep this clear message and get people to understand that if it wasn't for Narcotics Anonymous, I'd be dead right now. I would not have 12 years clean. I know that. And I know that this disease kills. And this disease, if my disease is up and your disease is up, I don't want to be by you because my disease would love to play with your disease. You know, and that's not making a judgment on that person. That's just the facts that I know. And I always get told, no, you're judging. And it's like, listen, I don't go where, you know, I used to do stupid shit. When I first got into recovery, it'd be blizzarding out, 80 degrees below zero. I need a meeting today and I'm going. I don't do that today. But I get on the phone. I don't think in the last 12 years there's a day that's gone by that I have not talked to a recovering addict. And I've got sponsees that got like 6 months clean and they go a week with no meeting and not talking to anybody. It's like, I don't understand how it works. I don't know if the disease of addiction has changed for somebody or some people, because I couldn't do it, you know. When I had surgeries, I had addicts that were willing to come to my house and bring me a meeting because I could not leave my house, you know. And it's like, was out to coffee, you know, the meeting after the meeting, might have a home group, but we also had a restaurant that was our home group for the meeting after the meeting, you know, and that's not happening. And I had to ask myself, why isn't that happening? And what I thought is, well, maybe I'm not asking, maybe I need to be asking. So I have started to do that a little bit, and you know, it's kind of nice to get back out with a group of addicts instead of sitting at home and watching, you know, whatever the hell is on TV that night. Getting to be an old fart and want to be in my pajamas at 7 o'clock at night, you know. And I also realize that, you know, God has given me, Narcotics Anonymous has given me, and the people in Narcotics Anonymous has given me a life that I never ever dreamt possible. Coming from the background that I came from, with all the abuse and hating men as much as I do, and to be able to be married and have a wonderful life, even though we have our problems, it's still the best. We don't got the white picket fence, you know, but to be able to come to this convention, sleep in a cabin with how many men? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men last night and feel perfectly safe.
Wow.
I didn't get that by myself. I didn't get that just because I sat down and said, okay, that life is over, here's my new way. I didn't know what a new way was, you know. I didn't sleep well because there was 5 men and there was some snoring going on, but the only one I woke up was my husband, but that doesn't mean tonight that will be the same, but, you know. And when we were talking about it last night, someone was told, somebody that I don't know, they said, well, you guys want to sleep with us? And I said, well, yeah, I've already slept with you two. You know, and the guy's like, what? And I'd already, you know, been introduced as husband and wife, and it's like, no, at conventions, you know. We do this, we get together, you know, and there's rules. The toilet lid goes, you know, the seat stays down and you're not in your underwear. There's just a few little rules. You know, and I never dreamed that there could be a life possible. And it was because I went to a fucking meeting every day, looked at the shit I had to look at, and you know, for me to be able to stand in front of anybody and say, you know what, in my family, I was raised to be the family prostitute till I was age 29. I'm not proud of that fact, but I'm not ashamed of it anymore. That's what I got from sticking in this group, in this fellowship, and being able to say, you know what, that was then a lot of mistakes. My parents made a lot of mistakes, you know, and the only way that I really got to be able to make the amends that I needed to both my parents died before I got clean, and I've been able to make my amends, and I've been able to put it to rest and wish and pray that, I know they see me, but I wish they were here to see what I have today. And one day that may or may not happen, you know, something wonderful and grand God's got planned, I'm sure. But to be able to say that I love them, I forgive them, and that it's okay today, it's because of this fellowship. It's because the people at my home group listened to the same old shit day after day after day. So what's your part in it, Nancy? Oh, God. You know? And to realize that I've been given, I got angry at this when I first realized this. Narcotics Anonymous is teaching me what my parents should have taught me when I was 2, 10, 12, and 15. And I got very angry at that, and then someone turned around and said, at least you're getting the opportunity to learn. There's some of us out there that aren't, you know. I got very angry because I only had like 18 months before my mom died of cancer that she was really my mom. Some people don't get a mom, Nancy. You had her for 18 months, you know. And it's always that someone's there at that group to turn it around. The way I see things, flip it. I have to learn that the way I see the world, I have to flip it to get it to go into recovery, because I go to the negative, I go to the bad, I go to the this, I go to the that. And one of the reasons that I was able to forgive my parents is I started thinking about this. When I went and got my driver's license, I had to take driver's ed in high school. I had to drive X amount of hours. I had to pass a written test. And then I had to get in and I had to drive and I had to pass that test. For my parents to become parents, all they did was have sex. There was no handbook. There was no rule book. And I believe in my heart today that they gave me the best that they could give me. And that's, you know, this forgiveness, this compassion. I'm looking for the steps, they're not up there. That the group taught me, that they gave me when I got here, because I, you know, but how many people would be okay with, you know, you motherfuckers need to stay on that side of the room and let me stay over here and we'll get along fine. If that's not that unconditional love and that compassion, I don't know what is. So, you know, I'm very grateful for my home group. I'm involved in it. You know what? I'm not doing real good today. You know, and I get what I need if I'm willing to get it. It's there to be had. You know, I hear people say, "Boy, I went to a really chaotic, screwed up, shitty meeting," and it's like, "What'd you get out of it?" Nothing. It was too chaotic. I said, when I go to meetings like that, it's like, there but by the grace of God go I. Thank you, God. You know, and we're sick people. Of course it's going to be chaotic and screwed up at times, but you go and say, you know what? I'm not doing real good today. You know, and I get what I need if I'm willing to get it. It's there to be had. You know, I hear people say, "Boy, I went to a really chaotic, screwed up, shitty meeting," and it's like, "What'd you get out of it?" Nothing. It was too chaotic. I said, when I go to meetings like that, it's like, there but by the grace of God go I. Thank you, God. You know, and we're sick people. Of course it's going to be chaotic and screwed up at times, but, you know, I take my responsibility today very seriously, because I believe it is my responsibility to try to understand the traditions the best I can. I'm not real good at them yet, but I'm getting there. And work my steps and apply them and make those amends and keep coming back, you know. So I'm grateful for letting me share. Thanks.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm an addict named Mark. Mark. What Nancy said. See ya. I'll just share a little bit. There was no Narcotics Anonymous when I got clean, so I had to go to AA. Thank God for AA, but I wouldn't walk through their doors today. That's for them, this is for me. My first day out of treatment, I went to an AA meeting. It was their home group, and they gave me the key to the meeting and said, "This is your job. Open this meeting every Tuesday." Key to the bank. Never had a key to the bank before. Their home group was so strong and caring that you know, meeting me the first time that I came there, they gave me that key and wanted to help me. That became my first home group, and I opened that meeting for 2 years. Then NA came to town. Didn't have to go there anymore. For me, I think home group is that's the foundation of our network. That's where our network starts to grow at, is through our home group. And How many of you think you have the best home group in town? 1, 2, 3. There's only 3 of us in here that are right.
You three.
No. Creeps. Yeah. It, you know,
You have the right to be wrong.
I'm looking for a new speaker for Sunday night. You know, if you don't feel like you belong to the best home group in your area, then you probably have the wrong home group. The group that I have now, I've had many home groups since I've been here. The group that I have now is the first meeting I went to when I came back from a relapse. I relapsed a couple months shy of 14 years clean. And this is the group, the first meeting that I could drag my sorry ass back to. It was really hard to walk back through those doors. And when I did, there were some people in that group that accepted me. You don't get that everywhere. There's still a lot of people in my area that don't accept me anymore because I went back out with 14 years clean. I wasn't out long. I didn't get bad. I just, you know, I went out. I quit doing the things that kept me here. You know, in my home group, part of the format is we have people raise their hands if they have more than a year clean. Looks like the fucking Super Bowl, man. And we have a small home group, but damn near everybody raises their hand. I've had the opportunity in that group to watch lots of people stick and stay, and we don't use duct tape on them. If you're an addict like Paul is, just had to throw that in there, Paul. He talks about duct tape, stick and stay when we do the key tags. You know, I truly do believe that I have the best home group in my area, and I try to make it regularly. You know, there are times when I can't make it, but it's important to me to be at that group, and you know, just watching the people in that group stick and stay. I've belonged to a lot of home groups, and I've seen more people stay since I've been a member of this home group than all the other ones I belong to. It tells me that we're doing something right there. You know, I like to say in my group that what we do here is save lives. We don't ever talk about that. That's what we do in Narcotics Anonymous. We save lives. And it's God, you know, when somebody comes through the doors and they're sitting there the first couple of weeks and you can't even get a I'm an addict out of them, you know, they don't talk, and then 6, 8, 9 months later you can't shut them up. You wish they couldn't talk. It's a good feeling, you know, to watch somebody grow. We've had some people that just, in the last year have just like grown tremendously. I don't know why with some of the members we have in our home group, you know, but you know, it's not all serious there. We do a lot of joking around, kidding around. But it's the best. So if you're ever in the South Bend, Mishawaka area on a Thursday night, we're on the corner of Jefferson Boulevard and what's the name of that other street? Capitol Avenue, at the United Methodist Church. We're called the Willow Creeps. That is the best home group in that area, in my opinion. And if you're an addict like I am, I'm always right. Unless you're an addict like Dave is, he thinks I'm wrong. Now to plug something else here, we're in desperate need of workshop speakers. That's why I'm up here killing time right now. So if anybody would like to volunteer for some of the ones that we got open, you get with me sometime this afternoon. And you're shaking your head no, so you're one. You're laughing, so you're one. And we're going to open this up, so anybody that wants to come up and share, come on up. But remember while you're up here that the Will of Creeps is the best one. Who's next?
Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, no takers, huh?
There we go.
Oh, yeah, you'll do a workshop, too. If you wouldn't sleep all day, you could walk straight.
Oh my gosh.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, family. My name is Debbie. I'm an addict. And my home group is Second Chances Open Group Meeting of Narcotics Anonymous in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And it's the best home group in the world. Our home group started out probably 7 years ago. And it started out with like 5 people. And today we are running between 30 and 42 people every Thursday. And it's a miracle to see something grow like that. Our area up there is very small. We only have a few meetings, but we just got another one, which is pretty cool. But it's very strong on our sister fellowship. And when I got out of treatment, I knew that I found a home in Narcotics Anonymous. And I was told to get a home group, and that's what I did. And it's been my home group for a long time. We had a lot of internal problems for quite a few years, you know, and it got really bad for quite a while. And everybody told me just hang in there and do the right thing for the right reasons and carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous. And, you know, some people, you know, it got rough for a while. Some people didn't want it to be what it was meant to be. And, you know, and I was told, stick to your guns, it's going to be rough. And I did that, and through that, I gained a lot of strength. And plus was called a few names in the process. But that's okay, because it's a very strong home group today. A couple years ago, we started having some problems with people outside the fellowship. And we dealt with those in a loving group conscience, because if you're not there for the right thing and for the right reasons, and you're causing problems in that meeting, our primary purpose is to carry the addict to the message to the addict that still suffers, and to keep those rooms safe. And we've done that today. And there was a time when the internal problems got really bad that people were leaving, newcomers were leaving our meeting because of some unspiritual people that think that you can do anything in these rooms that you want to do, and that's not the case. There's consequences to, you know, all of our actions. And we invited a loving God into our group conscience, and that was probably the first time in 7 years that 50 people showed up to a business meeting. And I'll never forget the feeling that, you know what, they're all here to lynch me, you know? And you know what, it turned out they were all there to support me. And the only 3 opposing were the ones that we were having problems with, you know? And we had to make some really hard decisions, and we have to prosecute today. We have had to call the police today. We are this tiny little spot, you know, up by the tip of the glove there. And it's like, wow, we ain't having fun till we're dialing 911. I'm telling you, think we're in the city. We have to call for, like, turning off cell phones now. And I'm like, what? I was gone for a week and they changed the format. And I'm like, wow, this is too weird. But, you know, all I know is a couple years ago, I went through a really rough period and I lost my clean time and I was very, very ill. And that group prayed me back up in there, and when I came back, when I left down here and went back home, I walked in that room and 35 people got up and hugged me. Not one person made me feel like I was less than because I was an addict and I got sick, and they understood, you know. And that's why I love to hear people when they talk. Sometimes they'll tell you, they're more than excited to tell you how much clean time they got in, but they don't tell you sometimes how long it took them to get here. You know, and when I came here last year, I was just getting a lot better. And through the love of Camp Mac and some healing, I am like so rocking today. And I miss my home group. We travel a lot, and it's like, oh my God, what are they doing now? You know, because every time we go back, it's like, okay, what'd you guys do, you know? And I want to tell you the story because it was really funny. We had somebody come up in there about 2 months ago, and they were some treatment center girls, and they were fighting over this guy, and they decided they were going to fight in front of the church. Well, in our community, we are trying to kill that stigma of once an addict, always an addict, but if we were a sister fellowship, we would be okay, but our community thinks that we're junkies, we're still robbing, thieving, you know, mugging and all that crud. Well, we ended up having to call the police, actually twice, because they just couldn't let it go. And they were taken off the property, because if we lose that property, we have no other place to meet, because we cannot get a building in our town. And that's why this group is so important to me. And we have this thing called Police and Fire. And so I had to get the paper to see if it made the paper, and it made the paper. But the funny thing is, I always think it's a God thing, but it said 2 girls were removed from the First Church of Christ on so-and-so street at an AA meeting. And I'm like, boy, the phone was ringing at my house, and they're going, this isn't, I go, you know, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. It's okay. You know, you guys can take some heat. But, you know what, they tell me, you know, through change comes growth. And that's what I experience almost on a monthly basis with this group, you know. And now they're all up in arms. They want a closed meeting. Well, we don't have enough meetings to have a closed meeting. It would be nice, but we're a treatment center town, you know. And he was talking about we call for a show of hands, you know, a year clean. And it's not to embarrass anybody, but it's to show the newcomer that you can get some time in. And you want to talk about the hands flying up. You know, it's people I came in with, people that have relapsed, that have come back. Myself that has relapsed and come back. I can raise my hand today. You know, and I'm not judged, I am loved. And my husband and I recover together, and that's our home group. And boy, they put up with some stuff sometimes. But you know what? They love us both, and they help us through whatever we're going through at the time. And that's my home, you know, it's my home. And I love it, and it is the best. It's the best home group in the whole world. I don't care what you say. Thank you.
I'm an addict named Kelly. Well, I have to say that I have the best, worst home group. It's Small Miracles area. It's called Stepping Towards Recovery, because this particular meeting withdrew out of a bigger area, and so now it's called, we're in the Small Miracles area. So as all these members that got together and went around and started these new meetings, right? So all of a sudden, a lot of people stopped making certain meetings because they knew that these particular individuals, strong personalities, had started these meetings. So my home group is very kid friendly, because there were a lot of men that were raising their children that brought their kids to the meeting, and a lot of the women could bring their children to the meeting. One thing about my home group is that everyone there believes in the literature. It works town-wide, and we call it the flat book. That's us. And it's like, it's really hardcore, because that book is like new in its interpretation, and you know, we get to discuss. It's not an exhaustive study, but my home group, I've been attending that group for coming up on 8 years. And the reason why I stayed there, it's on Saturdays from 8 to 10. So at the time I was married, and it was so, when I first got clean, there was so much hell up in my house. I couldn't do anything on Friday because that was my time to party, you know, on Thursday, Friday, and I wouldn't come in the house until early Saturday morning. So when I stopped using, the chaos was still there because I was still there. And then by Saturday, I was still in that vicious cycle of being crazy on Saturday. So I would show up at this meeting, flying in the door, and everybody would look, here she comes. As I was talking about, you know, what was going on in my house. And there were a lot of women there. There were a lot of women there, and they were shining like new money. I'm like, man. So I decided to make this my home group. And it's at St. Jude Church on Saturdays from 8 to 10. We have, it's a balance of a very, the people that make the meeting that are in my home group, they share a lot around Narcotics Anonymous. So I guess their egos show up at the home group also, but they make a lot of meetings and they go around speaking all the time. So my home group is very interesting. That's where I celebrate my clean time, and everyone knows, all my sponsee sisters know to meet me there. A lot of treatment facilities do attend that particular meeting because it is on Saturdays. But here lately, I've been busy on Saturdays, so to speak. I'm either working or hanging out, and I always say, oh, my home group, my home group. But the people there are very entwined in my life because I talk to them on a regular basis. You know, it is so important to have a home group because I noticed that people that don't, they really don't get the full gist of what it means to have a network of people that really care about you. True enough, I make a lot of different meetings, and in our area, our book is pretty thick. You know, as far as meetings in the Chicagoland area, in the South Suburban area, West Suburban area, we have a lot of meetings. But it's just something about the freedom of knowing that there are some people that love you no matter what. And you can just drag your butt up in there on fire. And they know when you're on fire. And all the masks have to go. You know, and it is such a comfort and a relief to know that there are some people there that are willing. And the thing about it, you know, I get to keep their kids. You know, the guys, I have seen men, you know, they take care of my daughter. I mean, they have her rotten. A couple of the brothers in the meetings, you know, my daughter's 13 and kids get to go on vacations together, and it's just great, you know. And the connection is just, I'm just forever grateful for it, you know. Chicago is a big city, you know. It's a big city, and we have a lot of meetings, and I heard someone say that their meeting, they only have like one meeting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. And if I ever had to move somewhere, I need to find out how many meetings they have before I make that transition. And actually, I found out through my travels when I attend other meetings that there seems like there's always lookalikes at the meeting. And I was like, there's such and such. There's Big Dave. And there's always like transplants in the meetings. If I go and visit and I'm there, because I went on a vacation and I looked around and I was like, wow. And I kept making that meeting on a regular because I was there for a while. And a lot of the people there looked like some of the people that were in my home group, you know, and some of the conversations. But if you don't have a home group, you are homeless. You're homeless. You know, and I mean, but this is just what has worked for me because it has kept me grounded. And this has been working to say that I don't need a home group, I think I would be denying myself some of the benefits of this program. You know, because the literature, it's in the literature. I'm not saying that the literature says it, that the home group is the most powerful vehicle for carrying the message to the addict that still suffers. Because they got to know me inside and out. I can't fake it in there. I cannot fake it. Man, when I come in there, if I'm whooped, I'm just whooped. But I'm on the upside now, and I'm so grateful for that, because for the first 5 years, it was just emotional turmoil. You know, that emotional, it's like I was shooting emotional dope every day I come through the door on Saturday, you know, on Saturday evenings. But it's not like that anymore, you know, and they get to see the other side of Kelly recovering, and it's really a great thing. The personalities in my home group, they're very strong personalities. They're very strong, and sometimes I have to go toe-to-toe with them too, because they're the traditions, and they believe in bringing your guns. You got to bring your guns with you. If you want a good fight, you got to bring your guns, you know, and that's what they are, you know, and they be just and they all, you know, old timers with their bags, and they come in there, they like a good, you know, a good fight. If you start talking about traditions, they're going to be all over you. And it's like, oh my goodness. But I learned so much. That's where I don't care if they swinging from the ceiling, fighting in the meeting, because I'm looking like, okay, and, you know, when people talk about chaotic meetings, guess what? Mine is chaotic. A member a couple of weeks ago got upset because she came to share. She was the first person to share. And there were some kids, you know, doing what they do, being children. And she stood up, she says, I'll just keep coming back. And when she did that, it was on. And then I said, oh, here we go. Here we go. And next thing you know, everyone's looking toward the chairperson to say something, and she came straight out of the literature. The atmosphere of recovery, you know, is what it is. It's already here before you get here. So basically, we come in here to learn. And she said, what, you're looking for me to say what? That the kids, this is a kid-friendly meeting. And first of all, if you have a problem with kids being here, you need to leave, basically, because this is what it is. It says it in the book, kid-friendly. So if you don't like it, you can go. But it was crazy in there, and by the time one of the old timers got through talking about her, it was like, but I learned so much. And I just looked, I said, you know, we are some people in here, you don't know what people background. People might pull out a gun. You never know in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. You just never know. I don't take anything for granted. So I understand, because people are at different levels at different times. And I know I just have never been to a bad meeting. Since I've been here, I haven't been to a bad meeting yet, you know. But my home group is pretty wild. They like to crosstalk a lot too, you know. And sometimes cross-talking, people figure that you know, you're being disruptive to a meeting. But through cross-talking, I've learned how to listen to the littlest thing. I can hear very well now, because I want to save my life. So it doesn't even bother me, you know, because I'm going to get mine regardless. What I come there for is to hear the message of Narcotics Anonymous. And I learned so much in the meeting, what to do and what not to do, you know, and that's most importantly, you know. 2 hours isn't a lot of time, but it sure does be sitting at home and not doing anything, because I can't recover on yesterday's recovery. I just can't, you know. If you don't have a home group, get one, because they are very, very important to living this new way of life. I keep coming back.
I'm an addict seeking recovery. My name is Philadelphia. Hey, Phil. Well, you're not under surveillance. I'm not there anymore. Yeah, home groups. Importance of them. My first home group I had for like maybe a year, and then I got a home group and I kept it for 15 years. and we had a fire in the building, and we was moving back and forth from one place to another, and we never could get it reestablished. And it was a pretty big meeting in our area. So for the past, and that was the Spirituality Stars Here group of Narcotics Anonymous, and I just saw a flyer before I came out here that they they reopening that meeting again. My home group now is the Never Again group of Narcotics Anonymous. It meets every Sunday from 6 to 8 on Davidson and 14th. So if you're ever in Detroit, come to Davidson and 14th and share with us. You know, we'd appreciate it. And my home group, it's kind of a unique group. You know, we always want to claim our home groups as being unique or whatever. And this home group, you know, a lot of times when people stand up for clean time, you know, they don't like to do it. But I've been to places where they do entire meetings for clean time recognition, and I think that's so awesome, because it certainly gives some indication of the importance of learning how to get increments of clean time. So in my home group on whenever we do an anniversary, my home group all stands up and we all share, you know, about the person, give a little bit of feedback. But that's wonderful though, because home groups are important, because I know if I didn't get in touch with the people in my home group and have some genuine concern about interacting with somebody that really and truly cares, it really probably would make a lot of difference, you know. So I know for the day in this process of learning, and that's so real key, this is a process of learning, you know, even with time in the program, and it means something, you know, a day at a time to get in this process and, you know, not use, you know, and knowing about where you come from. You know, I know where I came from as an addict that was lost in the desperation and the loss of control and the denial of using and trying to get that next one. So getting to that point of surrender and finding that freedom and having a group that you could go to and they know you and they ain't gonna, you know, we don't co-sign each other's stuff. That's one thing that's real. You know, I think it's real important to be able to go raw when you dealing with addicts, you know, because we sensitive. I be looking at some of the addicts sometimes in other areas outside of the room, and I'm like, wow, every little bitty thing is so critical and analytical that, you know, I'm like, wow, is it really that deep? But I guess it is for some people in the process of growing into this new way of life. I guess my humility is just my humility. I'm not a complicated individual. No, don't even tell that lie. I don't want to believe that I'm a complicated individual. Let's get this straight, you know. But the truth of having the importance of a home group, man. 'Cause for those 15 years that Spirituality Starts Here, I mean, doing service work, being there, you know, and that was one of the only 2-3 hour meetings that we had, you know, in Detroit. But I had to move on, you know, because I can't keep adjusting from this meeting place to that meeting place, and then have to go back. And it's a new group, the Never Again group of Narcotics Anonymous. It's a new meeting, and it's been, and I think we just had our 4-year anniversary in February, so you know, it's by it being a new group, and everybody there I got some relationship with, and I've been knowing a lot of them since they come in the rooms and stuff like that, and they always, you know, talking about we want to stand on the old timer's shoulder, you know, and that helps, you know, to be able to so much way know that I'm not a model of a recovering addict, but I am one of the predecessors in that group, and it's just a reality, man. I done come a long way today to be here, and I want to say we grow, is that with love? This here, man, is awesome, man. I done walked down to the tree 2 times. You know, taking videos and all of that stuff. You know, it's just wonderful, man. I know this will not be my first time just to come in and not come back. I'll be back. You know, I'll be back. So I'm real grateful, y'all, for this process of hope. I'm gonna keep coming back. I'm gonna come back clean. Thanks for letting me share.
Oh, you have to have shoes.
I'm Lori and I'm an addict. I know you guys say your home group is the best, but I think mine is. And part of the reason that I joined this home group was because of certain individuals that went, and since then they've stopped going, but I remain there. And I asked one of them to be my sponsor, and so she's in my life daily. And one of the things about our home group is that it goes as long as it goes. We never had a time limit. It starts at 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and it would go till 2:30 sometimes. And we finally had to set a time limit of 12:30, but you can go in there and there's no time limit. You can share what you need to share, and there's probably, at any given point, a dozen people that show up at this group, and it's so safe. I know for me, I need a home group because I need to be accountable. There's 3 that I go to every single week. I'm there every single week. But this one is the one I call home. And one of the things, before I joined this home group, it's a closed meeting, and these 2 young ladies showed up, and they do stress that if you're not an addict, and I want to change the words, I want to change them to we'll escort you out. And it really upset me because these 2 young ladies were about 15, and one of them said that she was an addict and the other one didn't. And they had this big man escort them out. And there were these 2, they were little girls, and I was so upset that I wanted to join this home group. And what had happened was the other individual didn't identify as an addict, yet she had used and came to see, and they escorted her out. And I was so upset that I wanted to see if I couldn't join and maybe make a difference, because sometimes we don't know when we come to these rooms. We just don't know. We know that things aren't working and that we want something different. I know for me, I was dying. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. But we don't always know when we're coming here. We either get a nudge from the judge or whatever it might be, parents or high school, whatever. But we don't always know. And so since then, we have home group meetings once in a while, and I really want to make that different. I do appreciate the fact that there are closed meetings, but if we don't know yet, we don't know yet. And so I don't know, but I love my home group. I'm from Los Angeles, and we didn't talk much about home groups there, but there was a meeting that I went to every week, and it was Sunday morning from 10 to 12. It was the gratitude meeting. And so I miss that so much that, what a way to wake up on Sunday morning. And I don't miss it unless I'm places like here or out of town. I'm always there, and I took a commitment there, and that means a lot to me, of being of service at any level, whether it be area, region, or meeting level. The meeting level is I think one of the most important, because that's where we see the still suffering addict come in. That's where we touch lives. I don't know, but I feel really safe there, and if I'm not there, I'm missed, and that just feels so good. They want to know, where were you? And that just feels really good. Because I know for me, I was asked to leave places, but I was never missed when I wasn't there. But anyhow, thanks. I'm glad this is here.
Thank you. Yeah. 3. Are we done? We're done. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody for sharing. We're going to go upstairs and chow now. Let's get in a circle and close this workshop.